This is episode 212 of the Super League Pod, and if you want some insight into the risque home videos of Super League executives, you may well be in the right place. We'll also discover which 8-letter word was the final round solution in this week's edition of Wheel of Misfortune. We've again got a load of your views on the week's news and matches, and we'll give you your expected roundup of news, Super League stats and other results. So get yourselves ready for SLP time. Alright, it's episode 212 of the Super League Pod. Mark here, as normal, and this week, again, I'm joined by Tim G. Welcome back to the show, Tim. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very good, thank you. Yeah, I had a nice weekend, nice and relaxed, and then, back at it today.
I had a weekend of going through cupboards to start getting things ready to throw out so that we don't move stuff that we don't want when we move, and then working. So yours sounds nicer than mine, Tim. So thanks.
Sorry,
I had a nice time.
didn't mean to rub it in. Did you find anything in the cupboard though that you think, wow, I'd forgotten about this, but this is amazing. I've now got to put it in centre stage to just remind everybody that I have it.
No, we found a lot of things that were like, God, that's come from my mum at Christmas, hasn't it? Stuff from my mum, like things that you get bought. A gesture. One of the things was like, I know we haven't opened this, but are we ever going to open it? And I was like, no, we're not. Let's just, but let's, rather than put it in the bin because it's unopened, let's send it off to a charity or something and see if someone else wants to use it for something. But yeah, that's
six bottles of wine that you're just never going to drink because, in my case, you don't drink wine. Constantly get given.
Yeah, occasionally they get re-gifted. I think we were the subject of a re-gifting this Christmas, and then we will re-gift that to someone unsuspecting very soon. I think in terms of red wine that neither of us drink. Yeah, fair enough. Right, that's us caught up, Tim. Do you want to tell us about who's sponsoring episode 212?
Yeah, episode 212 is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. If you visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop, and on any orders over £5 you can earn 5% cash back, and also 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers just by putting SLP discount at the checkout. One brief stock update, they do not have inflatable swans.
Or inflatable sheep.
Or inflatable sheep,
too.
As we found out as well. The reason for the inflatable swan is quite good. Heather and I are off to the tennis for the Fed Cup in an Easter weekend.
Okay.
And because it's the first time...
I'm still a miss. Still have no idea why that's got anything to do with swans.
So, two of the players, one of the players is called Katie Swan.
Okay.
So we thought we could get some comedy accessories for. So I thought, because one of them is Harriet Dart and the other one is Katie Swan. So I thought, and they normally play doubles together.
So I
thought you could get some inflatables and have them, and we might get on telly or something, or just generally annoy everybody behind us, which is also a decent objective. So we thought about doing that, but unfortunately, it is impossible to find an inflatable dartboard that is not 20 foot long. Because you can find them that are giant inflatable dartboards, but the kind of one that you used to get in Supermarket Sweep, you just can't find anymore.
That's very disappointing, and I think Rob's Toy Shop needs to be up to the challenge of finding some wholesalers that can give him a better inflatables range. He has got a fantastic stationery range and pet toy range and all that sort of stuff, but inflatables, up your game, Rob. Up your game. Okay.
We also looked for a lightning bolt for Katie Bolter as well, but that wasn't to come off either. So we did eventually find the inflatable swan, so that has been purchased.
Well, there you go. So you're a third of the way to your full set.
Yeah, we just got to hope that she actually gets selected. Otherwise, it's going to be
a waste of
quite
time.
Amusing. Yeah, having a inflatable swan.
Fair enough. Well, it'll make us just as much sense to what it will do to most people anyway when you get off the train.
This is true.
Labels one. Okay, on the show this week, we're going to start actually with a correction from something we told you on last week's show.
Yes.
So we need to take that seriously. Then we'll hit a whole load of news, getting both extremes on Wigan's points deduction reprieve from you guys, the listeners. Then we recap a topsy-turvy round of Super League. We've also got Championship and Challenge Cup recaps, results there from those games, and a few views in from you guys on some of those as well. Then for the first time this year, our predictions section will also call out the NRL Brit Pick games, which is where you'll be able to find out where our overseas heroes from the Wall of White will be playing in the NRL this weekend and how you can watch that. So, Tim, like I say, we're going to start with a bit of feedback on last week.
It's a serious matter that we do need to correct.
Yeah, we got something factually incorrect. We know it's caused one of our listeners some distress, some upset this week, so we do want to make sure we set the record straight on that, Tim. So, in order to set the record straight on our factual mishap last week, Joshua's granddad at John Scotter 15 got in touch. He said, the only error I spotted in the show was a fantasy summary. I think given as a top score of 613, although my 642 just edges this. Hashtag desperate for recognition. We can only apologise, John.
Yep, the hat's officially come off in apology.
Yeah, when I say we, I totally mean me. I missed your highest score, the one that I saw, and I apologise, but I hope now you've had due recognition, and we're sorry for that. Actually, John jumped ahead of me this week, so he's had another strong week in it. So he's getting recognition for that. He didn't quite get the top score this week, but he had another good week. So obviously Hull's turnaround has been matched by John's turnaround in the Fantasy League, so well done to him. Okay, and then a shout out as well. We moved from Joshua's granddad to Joshua's mother. As Sarah did her latest interview last week, and it's up as our most recent SLP short. If you go to all the places you listen to this podcast, you'll be able to find this there as the episode before this one. She spoke to John from Community Integrated Care about the new Learning Disability Super League. So it was great to get that interview, and it's only a very short listen actually. It's 15 minutes or so. She hits on a lot of key areas though, and learns quite a bit, I think, about the new competition. So really good listen. Yeah,
really good interview. Listen to that on my walk home this evening. Very good, and learned a lot. Can't wait to see some LDSL, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's at LD Super League is the Twitter handle that you'll need. But go and listen to the show and you'll get all the key information that you need. And John was very good to give up his time. So thanks to John and Sarah conducting that interview. That is our opening sorted out for this show now, Tim. So we're going to rattle along to this week's news from around the world of rugby league.
And we start this evening's news, well, whichever period of time that you're listening to it, with the news that Wigan Warriors' 2-point deduction for salary cap breaches have been suspended until March 2020 following an appeal. They have been fined £5,000 and told to pay £2,000 to cover the costs of their original tribunal hearing in January. The penalty relates to 6 separate payments totalling £14,700 in 2017, not declared to the Rugby Football League. The Warriors will be deducted 2 points if they breach the salary cap again in the next 12 months. And we had plenty of views about this one, Mark.
Yeah, Jen Kay got in touch first of all. She said, "We have our 2 points back. The sport needs to consider how small fry we look docking points for a figure as small as £14,000.
Tom Andrews said, "Can only assume Wigan are in possession of the Rob Elston sex tape." Nobody wants to see someone with a face that big make a sex tape, as they are the only club who continue and will continue to get away with cap cheating. I can only imagine Fat Boy Rob is thrilled. Laughing emoji.
I'm sure there was a tongue firmly planted in the cheek for all of that. Neil McEwen, though, says, well, shocker...
Was that in the Rob Elston sex tape? The tongue firmly planted somewhere?
Well, maybe Tom and his Hull KR colleagues Hull KR fans have their hands on it as well after what Chris Chester said about the refereeing performance of the weekend. We'll get to that later on. But Neil McEwen said, Well, shocker fucking Rooney. Wigan have points reinstated. It's another case of a big club getting treated different, as if this was Wakey, etc. They'd be dry bummed. Well, Wakey can't afford to break the cap, to be fair, Neil. Before anyone starts, I know it's only 13,000, well, 14,000, I think, but it's still a salary breach. In future, you need to employ Toronto accountants.
14,700, so that's really 15,000, isn't it?
Well, yeah, fair enough. In future, you need to employ Toronto accountants, as them lads are continually added to that squad without going over the cap. And then some emojis that I haven't printed off on my printer, so I can't tell you what they all are. But
I've got a symbol, and that's as much as I can read. Yeah.
But anyway,
Mike Dodd at Mike Dodd22 says ridiculous as usual. Not that I'm anti-Wigan or anything. The most worrying thing I read is the BBC article was the fact that the Wigan and the RFL split the cost of the hearing. After all, the RFL has plenty of money to just go handing out willy-nilly. So that's also in the willy-nilly could also be in the Rob Elston sex tape.
Wigan were instructed to cover the costs of the first independent hearing after this, and pay all the fine that some of it was previously suspended, and then the flip side, the points deduction has been suspended. If they go over the cap again, which, to be honest, if we went over the cap again, I'd expect more than a 2-point deduction, personally. Now, Matt, we talked a lot about the salary cap thing at the time. I think, if I remember right, a month or so ago, Tim, both of us thought that the points deduction seemed quite harsh for the nature and amount of the breach that took place. But, it was imposed. I think it's probably reasonable that it's been removed, although I don't want to get into the politics of it all too much. But the RFL legal operations manager, whose name escapes me now, she came out and said that basically it's kind of shown that the rules around this and the guidance around this and what they should do around this isn't really clear and structured well enough for two independent tribunals to come out with a different decision, and for kind of everyone in the game really to be split on whether it was fair or not for the nature of the breach. I got the sense that the RFL pushed for the 2 points deduction the first time around because it had to wait until an audit to bring this out, rather than Wigan picking up on themselves internally and going to the Rugby Football League with it. But I would just say that it shows that the audits work if it's been pulled out. So that's a pat on the back for the RFL auditing system, because these were not player payment related breaches. So yeah, there needs to be some tightening up around things, and maybe some organisation of kind of like a grid system, almost like they have for on-field sentencing. Why don't they have that sort of stuff for salary caps? She's listed all the kind of factors and variables that might make up a decision. So it's time for the clubs to get around, think about what they want, and the RFL and the Super League to work together on getting something that us fans can then not have so much of a fallout over, because we know what to expect when this sort of thing happens. Because otherwise you end up with a situation like this where a penalty seemed excessive for the nature and amount of the breach, but a punishment needed to be handed down, and there was a lot of politics around the timing of it and the nature of it and the club involved as well. It's very strange. I think if they'd have come out with this circumstance the first time around, I think it wouldn't have caused a huge fury. I think people are going to hate Wigan anyway. So, Wigan could be under the salary cap and people will still hate Wigan, just like people hate how much Warrington spend, even though they're very certain that they are under the salary cap. Same with, Leeds for years when they kept that team together. People are going to hate. So take that out of the mix. And I think most reasonable people would have thought a commensurate fine and costs was a fair outcome. But we've had to go through all this upheaval, which is kind of wrong. So hopefully the RFL and the Super League clubs can work together and come up with a system that is more transparent and more easy to understand.
Yeah, that would be nice. Get it see if you can fit it on a postcard. That'll be the challenge.
Yeah, anyway, exactly.
Moving on in the news.
Yeah, Super League side London Broncos have re-signed Warrington Wolves' second rower Matt Davis on an initial 1-month loan deal. The 22-year-old forward left the capital to join the Wire on a 2-year contract at the end of last season. I think it's through necessity they've had to sign him back. Really, they've had a couple of injuries, haven't they, in that back row? Jay Pitts is not only a miss for them, but he's also had an impact on my fantasy team. So there's serious consequences of these injuries, and I'm going to have to make a transfer too, just like the Broncos had to.
There we go. So one person you couldn't bring into your team would be the Leeds lock